Aurora stepped onto the dock of the private island, her presence an anomaly among the luxurious surroundings. Her plain white blouse was slightly stained with sweat, reflecting the relentless tropical sun that beat down on her with an almost palpable intensity. Clad in faded jeans and worn sandals, Aurora clutched a modest backpack tightly, her ensemble devoid of any of the usual luxury accessories seen on many of the other yacht passengers. The air was thick with the scent of exotic flowers intermingling with the salty breeze, carrying the distant sounds of laughter and clinking glasses from an upscale beachside lounge. Marble floors gleamed in the sunlight, and polished teak furniture sat elegantly under sun umbrellas marked with a famous luxury brand's logo. The atmosphere was one of exclusive indulgence. As she moved forward, several guests turned their heads, their eyes scrutinizing her appearance with a mix of surprise and disdain. These were well-sunned individuals, resplendent in tailored resort wear and gleaming designer accessories, each a picture of curated perfection. Their whispers cut through the air like knives, laughter barely stifled as they exchanged knowing glances. Standing at the head of the reception line, the lead tour guide, a man exuding an air of polished professionalism, took note of Aurora as well. His gaze, cold and appraising, traced her figure from head to toe, lingering on the sweat she attempted to discreetly dab away from her forehead with a handkerchief. Nearby, two elegantly dressed women erupted into laughter, one of them remarking loudly, "Looks like someone hitched a ride by mistake." The other quipped, "Maybe she won a free coupon tour." Their remarks drew a chorus of similarly amused chuckles from those within earshot, deepening the invisible barrier between Aurora and the assembled crowd. Aurora Quinn was still trying to gather herself beneath the harsh judgment of the island's elite when the sharply dressed tour guide approached her, each step deliberate and laced with a kind of condescension that made her skin prickle. The tour guide, Scott by his name tag, had a clipped tone that matched his crisply ironed uniform. His voice sliced through the ambient noise of laughter and the clinking of cocktail glasses. "Excuse me, ma'am," he began, injecting enough false politeness to sour the words. "I need to confirm that you're indeed registered for this private island tour. Are you perhaps lost?" The implication of his question hung in the air like an awkward specter, reinforcing the categorizations clearly drawn among the guests. Aurora, having prepared herself as much as she could for situations like this, mustered calm resilience in her voice. "No, I'm not lost," she replied, meeting his gaze squarely. "I booked this tour just like everyone else. I'm here to enjoy the island." Scott raised an eyebrow, his skepticism blatant. He turned slightly towards the crowd, ensuring that his words would be overheard by more than just Aurora. "Well, we usually cater to VIP members only," he said, casting a glance at her worn sandals as if they were an aberration. "Maybe you got mixed up with the staff schedule?" A ripple of amused laughter and scattered whispers cascaded through the nearby guests, some pulling out their phones to capture the brewing spectacle. Aurora could feel her cheeks burning, not from the sun, but from the humiliation of the attention she had unwittingly drawn. Scott waved her dismissively towards the edge of the gathering, away from the main group embarking on a walk along the sculpted cliffs overlooking the shimmering azure waters. She stood frozen, gripping the straps of her backpack tighter, a solitary figure marked for exclusion while the privileged crowd turned their backs and resumed the tour, snapping photos and chatting animatedly as they wandered away. Her protests, formed politely but firmly on her lips, seemed almost futile in the face of such orchestrated disregard. Yet, she couldn't simply let the moment crush her sense of self-worth. Aurora took a breath to steady herself, projecting confidence despite the cracking facade. "I have every right to be here," she reiterated softly, though her words were swallowed by the sound of moving feet and increasing distance. Ignored and gently but firmly pushed aside, Aurora found herself ushered toward a lonely, shaded area beneath a cluster of palm trees far from the allure of the pristine beach and its luxurious amenities. The guide's actions were reinforced by a sea of faces turned away from her, some still filming, others trading insults laced with cruel amusement. Standing there, Aurora felt a familiar blend of vulnerability and resilience battle within her. Trying not to let her guard down, she dropped onto a wooden bench corroded slightly by the elements, its view obscured by dense foliage. The solitude felt acute, each second amplifying her sense of embarrassment and isolation. Minutes ticked by slowly, a cruel reminder of the division starkly underlined by the glittering sunlit pathway she was no longer permitted to walk. Her composure faltered, the poignancy of the situation threatening to unravel her carefully maintained poise. The burning confusion and hurt were veiled behind her stoic expression, but inside, the silence around her was deafening. The arrival of a lone staff member startled her from her silent reverie. He shuffled awkwardly, his expression unsure, as he informed her matter-of-factly that she must wait here until the main group returned. There was no apology, no remedy for the forced exile from the tour experience. As Aurora watched him retreat, her heart clenched at the realization that despite all the eyes that had witnessed the scene, not one had offered her a hand, a word of support, or a glance of solidarity. She was alone in this hollow garden of opulence, surrounded by beauty that felt garish against her own stark rejection. Fighting back tears that threatened to break free, she squared her shoulders. Her breaths came measured, slow, and deliberate. Her journey to the island wasn't meant to be defined by this unexpected dismissal. The irony was biting. A committed environmentalist and invited guest cast aside in favor of appearances and assumptions. Her gaze drifted to the sea, shimmering under the sun's embrace, a vast, calming presence that mirrored her fluctuating resolve to rise above the bitter bruise inflicted by the morning's events. A flicker of renewed determination sparked within her, a quiet pledge that this moment of adversity, one that played out far too often in whispers and unwelcome laughter, wouldn't dictate her worth nor her ability to reclaim her space with dignity. The afternoon stretched forward, a canvas of unknown potential stretching towards an evening that might offer her reprieve from the sting of public scorn. Aurora's mind turned towards the possible paths ahead, each choice woven with strands of resilience amidst echoed laughter and the enforced solitude of a paradise not meant to be exclusive. This vibrant place would see her return not in shadows, but in the same light illuminating those shores, a promise, as unwavering as the gentle tide meeting the shore. As the group of guests returned from their scenic hike, laughter and conversation rippled among them, merging with the ambient sounds of the island. Scott, the tour guide, maintained his position near the entrance, ensuring that the returning guests received his curated and attentive courtesy. In his mind, Aurora's exclusion had been justified, a necessary action to maintain the island's pristine image. Later, as he shared a private conversation with his colleague Lana, Scott's disdain for Aurora surfaced unapologetically. "It's people like her who jeopardize the reputation of our island," he remarked casually, indifference lacing his words. "We're catering to a certain standard here, and frankly, letting in imposters like that woman dilutes the luxury we promise." Lana nodded, albeit a bit uneasily, partly because she knew how capricious the waves of esteem could be among the guests. Yet, she too wasn't immune to the insular culture fostered by their elite clientele. "I get it," she murmured. "But we just need to be careful. Reputation cuts both ways." Meanwhile, secluded and out of the guests' merriment, Aurora Quinn sat quietly on the small bench nestled beneath the cooled canopy of verdant palms. She remained contemplative, fighting the spiral of anger and embarrassment that danced in dizzying turns within her. The faint echoes of shared amusement from the returning guests only amplified the fracture between their experience and her exclusion. She dabbed the remaining tears from her eyes, patting her cheeks with shaky hands, determined to keep her emotional armor intact. Emotions churned beneath her stoic exterior, yet her resolve stood firm, one built over years of dedication to her cause, a root system that grounded her no matter the storm rolling over. And then, an unexpected shift in the island's rhythm cut through her moment of quiet introspection. There was movement by the dock. A sleek black luxury vehicle, industry's high-tech in appearance, appeared like a phantom cut from a different setting, rolling to a stop against the sun-kissed backdrop. The island's staff stirred, a buzz of curiosity flitted through the crowd. Stepping from the car with practiced grace was a sharply dressed assistant, his gaze scanning the surroundings with an evaluating efficiency until it settled on Aurora. Immediately, the air shifted, tightness winding through those observing, their attention caught like moths to a luminous flame. The assistant strode toward Aurora's shaded corner, the path clearing as guests pulled back to watch the unfolding scene. "Miss Quinn," his voice cut through the thickening anticipation, dipped in respect and gentle authority. "I've been sent to personally escort you to the conference venue." Aurora blinked, her initial surprise rapidly giving way to composed acceptance. The surprised presence of the assistant and the sudden shift in the island's ambience bolstered her resolve. The realization of her misplaced exclusion seemed to ripple outward, noticeable by the faint rustle it elicited among those witnessing the interaction. Speculation ran rampant among the guests, whispered hypotheses about Aurora's identity weaved through the suddenly quiet audience. Earlier dismissive chuckles died in their throats, replaced by an electric charge of uncertainty and creeping remorse. Scott, observing from a distance, felt an unfamiliar crease of doubt mark his confident facade. He shifted uncomfortably, the earlier certainty of his actions grimly shadowed by possibilities of misunderstood judgment. Lana's words echoed back to him with a renewed sharpness: reputation cuts both ways. As Aurora stood gracefully, brushing off loose sand from her jeans with practiced ease, she presented a picture of unapologetic confidence, her silent poise a direct counter to the undercurrent of surprise etched into the guests' postures. "What's happening?" one of the earlier jeering women whispered to another, the question a shared sentiment saturating the island air. "I don't know," came the tentative response, her earlier boldness replaced by a flicker of speculative hesitance. "But if they're sending the assistant for her?" Leaving the shaded overlook, Aurora followed the assistant toward the dock, the path edged with guests allowing her passage, their earlier amusement now tempered by a thickening tension. Her head held high, she walked with quiet dignity, offering no apologies nor seeking them, simply answering the unexpected summons with a serenity anchored by her purpose. As they reached the sleek vehicle, the assistant opened the door with a slight bow. Aurora glanced once more at the gathered throng, a fleeting gaze that unraveled threads of assumptions and embedded them with unspoken vigor. The assistant's demeanor remained steadfastly professional. "Miss Quinn, your contributions have been noted in the upcoming session. We're eagerly looking forward to your insight on marine conservation efforts." Aurora nodded in acknowledgement, offering a slight but sincere smile. Her appearance, once mocked, now posed questions beneath the glances and whispers trailing in their wake. The full nature of her role on this island unfolded, a layer of the island's purpose that danced along its shores, much like the waves Aurora so deeply cherished. The assistant settled into the driver's seat, the vehicle moving smoothly away from the dock area, leaving the collection of guests to ponder over what lay ahead. Aurora's exclusion earlier in the day now transformed into something far more intricate than simple misjudgment or oversight. It mirrored reflection, a catalyst that crackled with the potential of irrevocable realization. As the car embarked toward its destination, Aurora felt the soft hum of the engine soothe away residual anger, each revolution an embrace of not only her ventures but the ambient recognition of her quiet strength. In her heart, understanding intricately wove itself with shared lessons, a continuation of purpose, with the vast horizon eternal and pure. The island's lush greenery framed the pathway as Aurora was driven toward the central conference venue, a strikingly modern structure that blended harmoniously with the tropical landscape. The building itself was a marvel of eco-design, constructed with sustainable materials and boasting panoramic views of the vibrant ocean surrounding it. As the sleek vehicle approached, the anticipation from the guest conversation seemed to intensify against the backdrop of soft waves and rustling palm fronds. Upon arriving at the venue, the assistant held the door open with a deferential nod, guiding Aurora with genuine respect that contrasted sharply with her earlier treatment. Guests were already gathered, enjoying the opulent amenities, their curiosity piqued by her arrival and the sudden, palpable shift in atmosphere that accompanied it. Inside, the conference area was abuzz with the who's who of environmental advocacy, prominent figures mingling with industry leaders and dedicated activists. Stunning visuals of marine life graced the walls, inspiring an immediate sense of purpose and urgency. Conversations swirled about climate action and conservation innovation, punctuated by announcements of upcoming talks and panels. Taking the stage, the master of ceremonies, a distinguished figure in the world of green initiatives, addressed the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that we introduce today's keynote speaker, a true pioneer in marine conservation whose groundbreaking work has influenced policy and inspired worldwide change. Please welcome Miss Aurora Quinn. The audience responded with palpable enthusiasm, applauding as Aurora took the stage. Her earlier calm facade now radiated natural grace, her presence commanding both attention and respect. The island's owner, Celine Harrington, introduced herself with a warm smile, stepping up to share accolades with genuine admiration in her eyes. Aurora's work, Celine began, addressing the hushed audience, has not only highlighted the importance of protecting our marine ecosystems but has also catalyzed real change, guiding projects that have preserved vital parts of our planet's oceans. Her voice was filled with conviction. She's an icon in sustainable efforts, and today, we're honored to have her share her insights. As she spoke, Celine's words reverberated through the room, her admiration mirroring the collective reverence swelling among the attendees. Her presence, though less formal and more personal here among familiar faces, underscored Aurora's introduction with unambiguous validation of her significant achievements. Guests who had earlier written Aurora off as out of place now exchanged glances of realization, their former mockery replaced with burgeoning awe. One by one, those who had muttered derisions found themselves reconsidering their initial perceptions, their flustered apologies hovering unspoken as paling shame washed over those most vocal during her earlier humiliation. For Scott, the guide who had orchestrated Aurora's exclusion, the revelation was intense. His eyes widened, a visceral twist of unease settling painfully across his expression as he processed the truth of her identity and reevaluated his actions back hastily. Guilt knotted in the pit of his stomach, mirrored by the surrounding hush as the audience shifted to attentively absorb the upcoming address. Aurora, mindful of the transformative power of presence devoid of arrogance, maintained her grace. Her tranquil demeanor projected strength, emphasizing her message over superficialities. As she began her keynote speech, Aurora's voice was filled with passion and authenticity, seamlessly weaving her love for the ocean's deep mysteries with compelling data, her arguments poignant and incisive. Her talk painted vivid pictures of thriving reefs affected by her initiatives, of marine life flourishing anew in areas once deemed irrecoverable. She shared narratives of cooperation with local fisher communities, driven by intertwined fates and shared environmental destinies. Her dedication, framed by natural allure, captivated the attendees, emphasizing unity in the face of climatic adversity. While her words' resonance reverberated through hearts and minds, patent to the misjudged assumption reducing her impact to a simple outward appearance. Yet her presentation, elegantly poised with potent calls for active conservation, implored for fundamental change beyond ephemeral luxury. Celine watched with unabashed pride, nodding occasionally, her own convictions underscored by Aurora's dedication. The harmony of the situation was a testament to their shared mission, a unifying event transforming individual energies into a collective conscience. The audience responded with a standing ovation, an unprecedented acknowledgement of Aurora's endeavors, shedding light on the contrasts she symbolized. As Aurora concluded, she expressed gratitude for the opportunity to speak, emphasizing the island's role as a beacon of environmental protection. Her earlier plain attire, understood in this context, transitioned from a point of mockery to a statement of practicality embraced by the very essence of her cause, a stark reminder of her mission-focused approach. The impact of her presence rippled through the attendees, rewriting expectations and weaving a new narrative within the elite congregation. Her story, a journey of adversity transformed into empowering action, resonated, leaving a newfound respect anchored within the island's luxe ambience. As the applause echoed around her, Aurora took a moment to appreciate the encompassing circle, one where values and impersonal judgments were starkly challenged by dedicated passion. Her role now illuminated beyond her initial reception, she found that the bridge between perception and reality could indeed foster change, an experience as humbling and vast as the sweeping vistas encircling the gathering. The crowd, abuzz with invigorated discourse post-address, circulated towards discussions amplified by unity and renewed ambition. Though some avoided eye contact, others approached with apologies wrapped in sincere acknowledgments of previous follies. The juxtaposition between initial assumptions and current revelations lingered, yet Aurora's focus remained steadfastly on advancing her impactful mission, a guiding light, unwavering before the setting sun. As the echoes of applause settled into murmured conversations and celebratory exchanges, Celine Harrington rose to center stage once more. Her eyes scanned the room, her expression a mix of authoritative presence and resolute empathy. The conference's success was tangible, but Celine's instincts alerted her to the ripple effects that demanded immediate redress. "Thank you all for your enthusiasm and commitment today," Celine addressed the gathering. Her voice carried an authoritative resonance, yet remained warm and inviting. "However, I must take this opportunity to address an incident earlier today that does not reflect the values we hold dear." Eyes turned towards Celine, the room's collective attention coalescing as the anticipation beneath her words built to a pitch of fascinated intrigue. "Earlier, one of our distinguished guests was treated with a lack of respect and understanding that this island cannot and will not tolerate. We are committed to correcting this. To Mr. Scott and all involved," Celine continued, her gaze as unwavering as the deep blue sea outside, "I urge you to reevaluate your actions and assumptions. This island is a sanctuary of inclusion, driven by the mission of sustainability, where every person, regardless of background or appearance, is welcome and valued." The direct but compassionate challenge cast toward the tour guide drew furtive glances, and the whispers took a sharper edge, the room's inhabitants silently recalibrating their outlooks and allegiances. Scott shifted awkwardly, his earlier confidence gradually weathering into uncertainty under the spotlight of public accountability. The gravity of his earlier actions weighed heavily, as did Celine's gentle but firm rebuke. As Celine continued, she made it clear that measures for additional staff training and awareness were immediately underway, seeking steadfast improvement within the recruiting and onboarding processes. The announcement of ongoing oversight was met with approving nods, even from the most skeptical figures present. As the host, Celine bore the mantle of responsible leadership, her convictions threading through each syllable. The crowd's energy subtly shifted, moving from one of rectified missteps to energetic engagement, driven to transform ideals into lived ethos. Conversation turned towards the practical steps echoed by Aurora's profound address, with gestures of reconciliation extended amid deepening partnerships born from this pivotal moment. People separated into groups, some debating proposals for change animatedly, others reflecting more quietly on the morning's unfolding dramas. Aurora found herself approached by several guests who had initially cast judgment, their apologies peppered sincere admissions of previous assumptions, attempting to reconcile their perceptions with regretful humility. Her acceptance of their apologies was met with palpable relief, her own forgiveness extended with quiet grace. For Scott, moments of solitude between discreet exchanges were rife with a mixture of remorse and newfound awareness. His earlier disdain for Aurora, born largely from mistaken beliefs and conditioned perceptions, had been dismantled. Having heard her speak, understanding the depth of her contributions, left him reconsidering the biases shaped by clothing and status, his perspective irrevocably altered. Unexpectedly, Aurora approached Scott, her steps as measured and deliberate as they had been when first arriving on the island. Her serene demeanor conveyed an unmistakable strength and self-assurance, setting the stage for a singular moment of personal reconciliation. Scott hesitated, words tangled momentarily on his tongue. "Miss Quinn, I owe you a tremendous apology," he managed, his voice barely above a whisper yet infused with genuine contrition. "I let appearances blind me to your remarkable spirit and contributions." Aurora nodded, the corners of her mouth lifting in a slight, forgiving smile. "Thank you for acknowledging it," she replied, her tone offering quiet reassurance rather than vindication. "It's easy to forget that we're more than the clothes we wear, that worth isn't measured by what's visible." The simplicity and depth of her response lingered, etching into the surroundings a residue of redemptive potential. Though the encounter lasted only moments, its ripples promised introspective change far deeper than the polished surface of momentary events suggested. The island's sun began its descent, casting long shadows over the shores and painting the sky in hues of crimson and amber. Aurora walked along the water's edge, her form silhouetted against the horizon. Her day on the island had evolved from an unforeseen challenge to a reaffirmation of her enduring mission, the embrace of purposeful action over superficial judgments unveiling real transformation. Watching in collective awe, the guests stood scattered across the beachfront and the terrace, reverence unspoken but powerfully felt. Aurora's presence among them, having seamlessly transitioned from an outsider's perceived novelty to pioneering authority, would leave an indelible mark, a testament to resilience's ability to reshape community ethos. As the island slowly fell under the spell of serenity, the conference venue continued to hum with networking and spirited conversations, empowered by Aurora's message and the island's realigned vision. Each word exchanged carried a trace of the truth that Aurora championed, the commitment to see beyond initial impressions, to foster inclusivity with active awareness and sincere intent. In her wake, the transformative echoes of her stand became part of the island's lore, a remarkable presence with the would-be power to challenge norms, set precedents, and build awareness that would resonate long after the conference lights dimmed. Thus, the island itself, along with the hearts of its occupants, would forever bear influences altered by Aurora's dignified legacy, the legacy of insights unplanned but impactful, defining borders and erasing limits within and beyond its shores.